Hi, so I'm not dead. I'm gonna be so honest, burnout got to a bitch, life got in the way, and I didn't really have much motivation or energy to put the same amount of energy into content as I usually do, so I wanted to give myself a little rest, but I'm back. From the bottom of my heart, I look forward to hearing from you guys again. I hope you all have been doing well, and what better way for me to return than to make a hot take video? And respectfully, with no due respect, I am tired of the baby back bitch opinions that you hear anytime there is some sort of content about metal and rock hot takes. I want scalding. I want, ooh, that burned. And I tried to condense this. There were a lot of hot takes that made the shortlist for this video, and I want to know down in the comment section below your metal and rock hot takes. Make them scalding. This is a judgment-free zone. And as always, there is no wrong answer, so you can let me know down in the comment section below if you disagreed with any of my hot takes. Starting off with, Anthrax are perfectly properly rated. I am tired of seeing people say that they are some lost treasure of thrash metal and they're actually the best of the big four. No, they're not. Is that to say Anthrax are bad? No, absolutely not. I like a lot of Anthrax's stuff, so I'm not some op. I'm not a hater of Anthrax, but I think that there are plenty of thrash metal bands that should have been in the big four that aren't. I have always been on the side of saying Testament should be in the big four, not Anthrax. But no, Anthrax are not underrated whatsoever. If anything, I think sometimes because people say they're so underrated, they have become overrated. They are incredibly mid as a thrash metal band, both then and now. Moving on from there, the concept of a big four is just ludicrous. It's stupid and it's dumb, and I don't like using it as a metric for any genre, metal, rock, or otherwise. I think that the big four is a very elusive term that a lot of times doesn't have the greatest of definitions, because you hear some people say, well, it's the most influential. That's not always the case. Many of the big four are preceded by a ton of other bands that laid the framework for them. And unfortunately, a lot of people use the terminology of the big four of thrash metal, or the big four of nu metal, or the big four of grunge as a measurement to say that they are the best that the genre has to offer, and I don't agree with that at all. Next up, Sleep Token are necessary. I don't care. You can bitch, you can moan, you can complain, you can hate them. I'm not even the biggest lover of Sleep Token. I think their new album is incredibly mid. I don't fucking like it at all. I think some of the songs off Eden are perfectly fine, but Sleep Token 1,000,000% are necessary for the scene. And anyone who says otherwise are absolute morons, in my opinion. You need gateway bands, you need bands that are hybrid, and I don't care if they're taking the bargain bin, basic ass, dime a dozen influences to make a bastardized amalgamation of a genre that you don't particularly like. I don't even like it a lot of times either, but having Sleep Token around for newer generations, specifically to get into metal, to get into rock, to have a band of sort of the new scene, and this goes for bands like Bad Omens and Spirit Box as well, these bands that get a lot of hate because TikTok and YouTube Shorts blew them up, and so people just don't like something that is fucking popular. We need bands like Sleep Token in the scene, whether you like it or not, or whether it hurts your feelings. Next up, hating the musician or their personal opinions or beliefs does not in any shape or form invalidate their musicianship or their talent or their influence, and I'm tired of this growing trend of people saying that it does. You can personally choose not to support something. You can choose to let people know the type of person that they are. You can stand on business to say the type of bitch that they are. I've done it a lot. I did it with Varg a long time ago. I'm the biggest hater of Varg you'll find. I absolutely despise Ronnie Radke as a person. But with that being said, erasing their history, erasing their influence, or trying to rewrite their music and saying that you don't like them and their music was always bad and their music is so crappy now simply because they did something you don't like, past, present, or in the future, is just ludicrous. There are plenty of musicians in the metal and rock space that I absolutely detest from a personal perspective. I absolutely despise Ronnie Radke. I think he is a jackass in every sense of the word. I think that Varg is an absolute menace to society, and I think the shit that he did in his past and a lot of the things he believes is absolutely out there. With that being said, both hella talented, great musicians. The things that Burzum did for black metal as a whole and just extreme metal as a whole, phenomenal. Ronnie Radke, fantastic vocalist, fantastic lyricist, sometimes when he's not saying my life is like a video game. He is an incredible vocalist. He has a lot of vocal chops to him. These people can still make good music. They can still make things that are worthwhile and influential, and going back revisionarily and trying to erase the things that they did is just not a cute look whatsoever. Politics belong in metal. I don't know why this even has to be said. It is baffling to me how many times I've seen people say, I don't want politics in my metal.
Man, politics just don't belong in metal. I hate that my favorite artist is talking about who they voted for in the 2024 presidential election, and I hate that they talk about their political affiliation. How dare they do that? And all of their music is just getting bullshit. I don't want to hear that in my music. I only want to know about the music. I don't care about their personal beliefs.
Do you know where metal and rock came from? Do you know where the roots of punk came from? Do you know where hardcore came from? It has always been political, bitch. It doesn't matter if they are right, if they are left, if they are centrist, if they're a fucking fascist, or if they're a communist. Metal has always been political. It is always meant to be political. It is by its very definition meant to be revolutionary and in many ways offensive, and that is 100% the goal, and that's not what all metal bands choose to do. There are plenty of rock and metal bands that don't do anything even remotely related to their personal beliefs. But saying that you don't like songs that are political, or that you don't like the fact that an artist or a band you like is showing their support for something that you disagree with, no matter where you are on the political aisle, you kinda need a reality check. This has been a long-standing opinion of mine that I will shout from the rooftops. OSDM has played itself out into a corner. Blood Incantation, overrated as hell. I just do not get the hype of them, and I think there are plenty of other bands like Mortiferum and fucking Coffins and Tomb Mold and Witch Vomit that do the sort of subterranean version of OSDM revival so much better. But with that being said, I am so tired of hearing the same shit. If you're gonna revive an entire style and your entire identity is gonna be based around that, at least put a creative spin on it, at least do something. I have been so diluted when it comes to old school death metal revival bands that I wince and cough anytime I see a recommendation come into my Gmail account when I know absolutely what it's going to sound like, and I can clock the production, the vocals, and just generally everything about it. It is a harsh reality, but it's why I said that a lot of local bands fail. It's because a lot of the underground bands don't want to do anything creative. Everything unique and interesting starts in the underground, but also a lot of boring ass projects go to die in the underground. It's played out, it's uncreative much of the time, it's scared to take a lot of risks, it is just standard bearing, it is just simply torch bearing in all of the worst ways possible, and that is just my opinion on it. Next up, and I'm gonna make this very simple because I think this is a scalding hot take, Knocked Loose are not a punk band, they're a metal band. And I think that the only reason people think that they are a hardcore punk band or a beatdown hardcore band in general is simply because they are a metalcore band that is incorporating far more punk influence than a lot of people are used to. They're used to their diluted ass metalcore music that is just breakdown wall to wall, and it's all metal and no punk influence. And so when a metalcore band comes around that is inherently punk influenced and incredibly hardcore punk influenced, because metalcore is one half hardcore punk, it's obviously going to make people think it's just a punk band. They're not a punk band, they're a metal band, and with a lot of punk influence, and I will give you that, they are not a hardcore punk band through and through. Next up, if you do not separate the art from the artist at least sometimes, you're a fucking hypocrite. That's all there is to it. That's the tweet. I don't like the holier than thou attitude. You are free to not support something, but if you have double standards just because you like something more, you are profoundly a hypocrite. If you have standards, if you have morals, and you don't want to sacrifice that, that is absolutely valid, and you are in your right to do that, and I even respect that a hell of a lot. I'm the same way. But if you then in the same breath will praise something that pretty much violates a similar thing that you are saying you are against simply because you enjoy it more, that makes you nothing more than a hypocrite. You kind of have to draw the line somewhere, sure, but when you have a genre like metal and rock that is pretty problematic, you have to be willing to set that aside sometimes, just say something is good and just drop your guard a little bit. It doesn't make you a bad person. As I said many times, I am a very devout Christian, and yet I listen to a lot of music that by its definition is inherently blasphemous with anti-Christian messaging. Does that harm my faith? Does that make my faith any less stronger? No, and I've said many times, if your foundation is so shaky that listening or hearing something that is diametrically opposed to it shakes you at your core and makes you reconsider everything and you have to avoid it at all costs and the fucking floor is lava, was your foundation that strong to begin with? Ask yourself that question. Same thing applies here. So the next one is probably the most hot take here, simply because by my standards it's something that seems a little out of character. I think elitism makes sense sometimes. Now keep in mind, I am very anti-elitist, I am very anti-gatekeeping, I am very anti-purism. I've said many times I think it is dumb as hell. Anything that makes you push people out of a scene because you think they're inferior or ruining joining your scene, I think you're a baby. Not everyone that identifies as an elitist by my approximation is an asshole or is just a jackass in general. I've met a lot of people that have pretty valid opinions for why they don't like a specific thing coming into a genre, and even if I don't agree with them a lot of times, it sometimes at least makes sense why they think it in the first place. And there is a reputation for elitists to be a bunch of snotty, snobby purists that hate anything that tampers with their sacred genre, and so they want to push everyone out because they think they're inferior. And while that is, in my opinion, the majority of elitists, it by no means is a great representation of every single person that calls themselves an elitist. And if you actually give them a chance, sometimes you'll hear some opinions from these people that you can at least kind of understand where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with them. So just give them a chance. And a lot of times you can know pretty quickly if there's someone that is rational and logical and actually has some like opinions to themselves, as opposed to people who just hate for the sake of hating. Next up, electronics are fantastic in metal. A fantastic addition. I love electronics and synths in metal. I think they are great. And I think a lot of people really sleep on electronic infused metal. That's it. That's the tweet. I know there's a lot of people that don't like electronics and synths in any form of metal, whether it be like dark ambient stuff or metalcore stuff. Y'all are sleeping on electronicore, man. Y'all are sleeping on electronic infused metal. It's great. Next up, YouTube Shorts, specifically TikTok and specifically Gen Z, did not ruin metal, and y'all need to shut up about it. I'm incredibly critical of my own generation. I don't agree with a lot of Gen Z. I don't like TX2. I don't like Fallen in Reverse. I don't really like Sleep Token, or I don't really like Bad Omens. I don't like a lot of these things, but with that being said, stop acting like it's a disease. We need those gateway bands. We need those Avenged Sevenfolds and Killswitch Engages of today, and just like any other generation, so many older metal and rock fans love to cast shadows on Gen Z when it comes to this scene, saying that they are ruining it, saying that they are changing it. And you saw this happen with Death Heaven and Liturgy, when they thought that black metal was going to just be ruined. Listen, you don't have to like something. No one has a gun to your head. Click off. Don't watch it. But no, the attention span deficit of the modern age is simply because of the consumerism that YouTube Shorts and TikTok created. Fast form content and short form content is the name of the game, and a lot of bands are going to blow up because of that, whether you like it or not. Maybe it's not your way of discovering new music, but it is a lot of people's ways of discovering new music. And even though you're not seeing it because it's not the heavily inflated numbers that you see from some of these larger bands, there are probably a lot of metal bands and rock bands in the underground that get a lot of new, valid, loyal listeners because of this content. So not only is it providing a gateway, it's providing a lot of bands a platform that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Next up, noise music and drone music are incredibly influential to metal and rock in a way that a lot of people don't give it credit for. And while yes, it's not my particular cup of tea a lot of times, I appreciate a lot of these bands like the Mirzabows and the Suns and the Borises and the Earths. These are necessary additions that inspired a ton of bands that would come after them. And you are going to continue to see that influence, so maybe you should dig into their discographies a little bit more and give them some more credit where it's due. And on a similar note, next up, noise music takes talent, or at least good noise music takes talent. I think a lot of noise is just there to be that noise. Atypical, it's meant to be anti-music. That's the entire point, but good noise music takes a lot of talent in crafting and techniques, and even if you do not like it, it does take a lot of talent. And I think people lump noise music in with just like the harsh wall noise of like Vomir, but there is a lot of great noise music out there, whether it be direct noise music or other genres that take noise and put it into the mix, metal, rock, or otherwise. But generally speaking, a lot of noise music has a lot more merit than people give it credit for. Next up, and this was my first video of the year, so go check it out if you're interested in it. NSBM is very good most of the time. I absolutely hate the politics. I absolutely detest the people who make it. I think a lot of it is cringe and edgelord driven. I don't think a lot of the people who make it actually believe what they are preaching, and I think a lot of it is just meant to be shocking, and that is exactly the sort of reaction it elicits. But with that being said, as offensive as it is, I notice that a lot of the hatred and vitriol and straight visceral rage that NSBM brings to the table makes some good black metal music, and just like any other form of music that is built around a gimmick, it can be good or bad. It's like saying black metal. You might not be a Christian, but black metal can be really good black metal music in the same way that NSBM, even if you don't like the meaning of it and the narrative behind it, whether they believe it or not, can be good music. And that kind of harkens back to the separating the art from the artist. I'm not going to support the stuff, and I'm not going to go out of my way to seek the stuff, but I'm also not going to completely push away and just completely act like it doesn't exist. Like, it's there, it's fun to examine, believe it at that. But with that being said, I'm going to leave it here. I want to make a part 2 of this video at some point. I just don't want to ramble on and make this video an hour long, but let me know your opinions of my hot takes as well as your hot takes down in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear it. Agree or disagree, there is no wrong answer. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.